familiar lang siya kaunti doon sa ginagawa natin last time. Because last time, what we did was, bakit pati ko ito ma-view? Last time, what we did was stock acquisition. Kasi before talaga, nung midterm, yung ginagawa natin is acquisition of net assets. But this time, since last meeting, what we were doing was stock acquisition na. So, yung mangyayari, yung acquirer, ang tawag sa kanya is parent, tapos si acquiree, siya na yung magiging subsidiary. And then, parang umiba lang kaunti yung computation, but because yung previous lesson was stock acquisition 100%, like dito dito company acquires all of the outstanding stock. So, ibig sabihin, all 100% of the outstanding stock ng acquiree is in-acquire ni acquirer. Yung computation of goodwill seems like parehas lang sa pag-compute nung goodwill when we were still doing acquisition of net assets. 'Di ba? Parang wala lang na iba sa computation. Yung formula natin same pa rin, consideration less fair value of net assets is equal to goodwill or pwedeng gain on acquisition. Nag-iba lang dahil iba ang journal entry na gagawin. Kasi before, ang nakasulat dito is yung mga assets and yung mga liabilities at their fair value. Pero this time, yung journal entry na is isa na lang, isang debit, and yung credit niya is either cash, kung cash yung ginamit sa pambayad, or the fair value of the stocks, kung yun ang ginamit pambayad. So like this, investment in subsidiary na lang, tapos credit cash because cash yung ginamit niya dito. Tapos, merong bagong na-introduce na mga techniques like the adjusting and eliminating entries. I hope you can still remember that. And yung paggawa ng consolidation working paper. We tackled this. And finally, yung paggawa ng consolidated statement of financial position or balance sheet. So, sana review nyo lang yung yung video natin kasi nandoon lang naman yun. Did I nasend ko ba ito tong Excel na file sa group chat? Nakalimutan ko.
Yes po.
Sige. Good. Na-send ko pala siya so you can, and anyway, I'm gonna send it again kasi noon hanggang dito lang yon, requirement number 5 of problem number 2. Ngayon, isang Excel file lang din yung dinagdag ko yung lesson natin for tonight. And meron tayong dalawang examples for that. So, sige. Let's start na talaga ha. Ang mangyayari kasi ngayon, kung before, in-acquire yung 100% ng outstanding stock or outstanding shares, dito sa lesson natin, yung acquisition is partial, hindi 100%. In fact, kung babasahin mo yung problem, how many percent lang ang in-acquire ni acquirer? Class, can you see my screen ba or gamay? Gamay ang screen na ko. Can you read the problem? Can you tell me kung ilang percent ang in-acquire ni acquirer?
80%, ma'am.
Yes, it's 80% lang. So because of that, ang tawag dito is partial acquisition. 100%. Any percentage na less than 100, kahit 99 pa yan, 99%, ang tawag dyan would be partial acquisition. And mag-iiba ang formula sa pag-compute ng goodwill or gain on acquisition. Mag-iiba. We will discuss that later on. So, basahin mo natin yung problem, ha? PLDT company issued 16,000 shares of its 10 par value common shares for 80% lang. You take note of that. 80% of the outstanding shares of Sun Company. The fair value of PLDT, kasi kailangan, di ba ito, for the consideration, dapat alam natin kung magkano yung fair value of the shares that we issued. Kasi kung cash yan, walang problema because pag cash, syempre, naka-fair value na talaga yon. But ito, because this is stock acquisition and at the same time, stocks din yung pinambayad, kailangan natin makuha yung fair value ng in-issue natin na stocks. So, ang nakalagay dito is 50 pesos. Tapos, binigay yung fair value ng NCI. NCI is non-controlling interest. This is NCI. NCI means non-controlling interest. Ibig sabihin, ito yung portion, dili ko kasulod. Dili ko kasulod si Faith. Okay, say, pasudla si Faith, abling putahan. Ang daan gani na magkuhan og link. Saan ito? I forgot. Wait, ha. These eyes will not be blinded by the lights. Share link. Copy. Ayan na siya. Okay na ka, Faith?
Ay, ma'am.
Oh, sige, off na imong camera kay basta makita na mo na imong mga brief dira. Sige, unsa man mabalik sa sinugdanan. Sige. Yun na lang. Yung lesson natin for tonight, hindi siya, tawag nito, medyo iba siya sa ginagawa natin before because before, yung ginagawa natin is either the acquisition of the net assets and yung last meeting, the acquisition of 100% of the outstanding stock or outstanding shares. Ngayon, ang gagawin natin, acquisition siya but less than 100%. Any amount less than 100%, ito yung methods or ito yung mga steps na gagawin natin. So, sa problem natin, problem number 3, si PLDT siya yung parent and si Sun siya yung subsidiary. Now, nag-issue daw si PLDT ng 16,000 shares. Yung shares niya, 10 pesos ang par value, tapos ang fair value is 50 pesos. Di ba, kailangan natin yan mamaya for the computation. Yung in-acquire niya, 80% lang of the outstanding shares. The fair value of PLDT company is yun nga, 50 pesos. And binigay ang fair value of the 20%. 20% saan galing yan? Because 80% lang yung i-acquire ni PLDT. So may natirang 20%. Ang tawag doon sa excess, sa portion na hindi in-acquire is the NCI or the non-controlling interest. Binigay ang fair value. And that is very important sa problem. Kung ibibigay ba, because there will be instances na hindi siya ibibigay. So kapag binigay ang fair value ng NCI, yun ang priority number 1 mo. Yun ang gagamitin mo. Okay? I hope you take note kasi wala ito sa module and di ko na lang siya isusulat. Please take note na lang na kapag binigay ang fair value ng NCI, that's the number 1 priority. That should be your first priority. Yun ang una mong gagamitin. In this case, sa problem number 3, binigay. So, gagamitin natin mamaya ito. Pero maraming requirements kasi mamaya. So, magkakaiba yung scenario. Tapos, PLDT company also pays 50,000 professional fees to accomplish the acquisition. Balance sheets before the consolidation with the acquirer's fair value were presented as follows. So, ito. Yan. We need the book value of the parent and the book value and the fair value of the subsidiary. Ma'am, bakit walang cash? Wala gina siya cash. Siguro wala na ginabilin nga kwarta kay Sun Company. Okay, dili ka matingala, wala gyud na siya amount. So, binigay na yung iba. Now, let's look at the requirements. Kung ano ba ang kailangan ng problem. First, compute for full goodwill using the fair value method. Tapos ito, assuming the fair value of the NCI of 170,000 is unknown, ibig sabihin, let's assume na hindi to binigay sa problem yung 170, let's compute pa rin daw for full goodwill using the fair value method. Tapos, assumption number 3, what if hindi rin binigay yung 170, compute daw for partial goodwill using the proportionate value method. Tapos ito, assumption number 4, assume that the assessed fair value of NCI is 120,000, compute for goodwill. So, dito, in this case, hindi daw 170, but 120 ang NCI. So, these are independent scenarios. Case-to-case basis, itong 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, iba-iba rin yung computation natin mamaya dyan. Now, allocate the computed goodwill between the parent company and the NCI on each of the cases above. Before, basta kayo makompute lang nato ang goodwill, tapos na. 'Di ba? Wala tayong problema. But this time, dahil hindi 100% ang acquisition, partial lang, in this case, 80% lang, ang goodwill hahatiin natin. Depende sa percentage. So, merong mapupunta kay parent, merong mapupunta kay NCI. Pero hindi siya yung simpleng kung magkano yung goodwill, i-times 80% mo lang, yun na yung para kay parent. Hindi ganon. Medyo complicated mamaya yung gagawin natin sa allocation of the goodwill. So I hope you have your you have notes with you. Because sa problem number 4, I'm gonna let you solve this on your own. Problem number 4, kayo ang sasagot niyan. But the problem, dito sa problem number 3, i-explain ko muna everything, yung mga processes. Tapos number 6, prepare the journal entries to record the investment in the books of the acquirer company. Hanggang dyan lang muna tayo. Kasi before, marami tayong ginawa. After natin nag-journal entry, gumawa tayo ng working paper adjusting and eliminating entries, nag-consolidated working paper tayo hanggang nag-prepare tayo ng balance sheet. Pero dito, for tonight, hanggang journal entries lang muna para dili kaayo ta ma-overload. Ha? Para gusto mo guna ko ma-absorb yun ninyo ni. Because actually, sa board exam, ito yung lumalabas. Yung mga goodwill na yan. Partial, kung full goodwill ba. So, I want you to really understand this kasi nga, 'di ba, sa board exam naman, ABCD lang naman talaga. Hindi ka naman gagawa ng ganito sa board exam. Hindi ka nang gagawa ng ganyan. Sa board exam, ABCD lang. So, let's master this one. Sa computation of goodwill in an acquisition of less than 100%. So, I hope you're ready. We will do requirement number 1. Okay. So, sa pag ganito na yung problem, yung formula natin medyo mag-iiba lang. So, first, ganun pa rin, consideration. But this time, i-add mo ang NCI you to get the total value. Ile-less mo yung FVNA pa rin so that you can compute for your goodwill or pwedeng gain. Pwedeng gain yan. Kung negative, di ba? So, sige nga. Consideration, same pa rin. Same pa rin ang pag-compute niya. So, sige nga, magkano ang consideration? How much is the consideration?
$800, ma'am.
800, very
800 na.
good. It's 800,000. So, sulat lang natin kung anong formula. How did you compute for that? What's the formula?
16,000 times 50.
Very good. 16,000 times 50. You got 800,000. So ito, dahil hindi nyo pa alam, unahin natin tong FVNA. Okay? Kasi ang FVNA, same lang. Kung paano natin siya kino-compute before, ganun pa rin. So how much is FVNA? Good. Ako ba?
620,000, ma'am.
620,000. So, same pa rin siya sa pag-compute natin before. Fair value of the assets less fair value of the liabilities. So, ang problema ito, NCI, magkano yung value na ibibigay natin? Now, you look at the assumption. Sa first requirement, ang sabi lang, compute for the full goodwill. Compute for the full goodwill using the fair value method. Now, pinapatandaan ko sa inyo kanina na kapag binigay sa problem ang fair value ng NCI, yun ang gagamitin. So, magkano ang fair value of the NCI based sa ating problem? Oh, shucks.
170, ma'am.
170.
So, 170. Ang nangyari? Ay, nag-add pala ako. So, yung value dito, ang ilalagay mo, 170. Binigay siya sa problem and there are no other assumptions. So, lalagay ko lang kasi I will forward this to you for your review. NCI, this was given. Given siya sa problem, the 170. So, ang next mo gagawin, i-add mo yung dalawa. And then, ile-less mo na. Ito na yung new total mo. Kasi before, consideration lang tayo less fair value of net assets. Kasi noon, 100% yung ina-acquire natin. But this time, dahil 80% lang, we have to get the amount for the NCI, for the remaining 20%. Bago mo i-less sa FVNA para makuha mo yung goodwill mo or gain on acquisition. In this case, this is positive, so this is goodwill. So for requirement number 1, yung answer is 350,000. Okay? So,
Ma'am,
yes.
what if kung wala to, ma'am? Wala ang assumption nila, ma'am.
Mona to
Mga
himono niya.
170. Okay.
Excited, uy. Mona to himono niya.
Alba.
Relax lang. Okay?
Pero kalinto lang.
Sige, that's requirement number 1. Pag binigay ang fair value ng NCI, yun ang gagamitin. Take note of that. Please write that down. Yun ang gagamitin mo. And dito kasi, I told you before, these are independent cases. Okay? These are independent cases. They are not related to each other, pero they relate to this problem. Okay? So, dito sa number 2, syempre, mag-iiba yung assumptions. Mag-iiba yung computation. Kasi ang sabi sa requirement number 2, what if daw the fair value of NCI is unknown or hindi binigay? Hindi binigay sa problem. So, ibig sabihin, i-reason na to ni kaning-kaning nga portion. What if wala na? Ang sentence hangtod lang dere sa the fair value of PLDT is 50 pesos. Tapos wala na ni siya nga phrase. So, what if ganun? Compute for full goodwill. Yun pa rin yung hinihingi ng problem. Compute for full goodwill. So, let's do that. Kopyahin mo lang din to, kasi same lang yan. Yung formula, mag-iiba lang sa NCI. So, we can actually copy that one too, pero alisin natin to. Awag na lang. So, yung consideration natin, 800,000 pa rin. Unahin mo yan ha sa formula mo. Kasi alam mo to kung paano mo to kukunin. Kasi ito lang din yung ginagawa natin before. And FD&A, same pa rin, 620,000. Kasi iba naman yung assumptions na affected. Ang affected na assumption is yung NCI. What if daw hindi binigay yung 170,000, pero yung gustong makuha ng problem is the full goodwill pa rin using the fair value method. So, ito yung gagawin mo. Itong consideration na binigay ni acquirer, this represents 80%, right? Because 80% yung gusto niyang i-acquire. Now, if 800,000 is 80%, magkano ang 100% niya? Sige nga, if we can compute for that. If 800,000 represents 80%, how much is the 100%?
1 million, charot.
1 million. Tama. Tama yun. Kasi if you will compute for that, ito yung formula. Kukunin mo yung consideration, 800,000. I-divide mo kung ilang percentage ang nire-represent niya. 800,000 daw kasi represents 80%. So, kukunin mo yung 80% divided by 0.80. That will give you actually, ano nangyari? Bakit ayaw niya ng formula ko? 800,000 divided by 0.80. Ano formula, care? Dito tayo, be. 800,000 divided by 0.80. Ayun. Ang gagawin mo, ang formula, ito kunin mo yung magkano yung binayad, kung magkano yung consideration, i-divide mo kung ilang percent yung i-acquire. So, ito yung binayad, ito yung consideration, and gusto niyang kunin yung 80%. So, i-divide mo with that number. So, yung formula niyan, i-take note nyo na lang dyan. Nakakalagot na ni Excel. I-take note nyo na lang dyan. The formula for this one is 800,000 divided by 80% for you to get the 100%. But it does not end with that. 100% yun. So, magkano ang NCI? If NCI is 20%, magkano ang 20% ng 1 million?
200, ma'am.
200,000. That would be the the value of your NCI. If hindi binigay sa problem yung fair value mismo. So, yung formula dito pala natin ilagay. 800,000 divided by 0.80 and then times 0.20. Nagets nyo yung formula? Kung bakit ganyan?
Yes, ma'am.
Yung consideration, i-divide mo siya kung ilang percentage yung i-acquire times mo sa NCI percentage. The percentage of the NCI or the excess is 20%. So, dapat itong dalawang to, 80 and 20, should sum up to 100%. Okay, kung i-30 ni mo na, adil na tumao. Okay? So, that's how you get the NCI. If hindi given sa problem and ang requirement is fair value method or full goodwill yung gusto niyang makuha. Okay? Take note of that. So, this is actually priority number 2. Kapag silent ang problem, kay daghang problem nga silent, kapag silent ang problem, wala gihatag ang fair value ni NCI, ito yung una mong gagawin. Kunin mo ang fair value of the NCI using the fair value method. And this is the formula. Consideration divided by percentage to be acquired times the excess. So, sana matandaan niyo yan. And then, yun pa rin, gagawin mo, i-add mo yung dalawa. And then, ima-minus mo na. So, iba na ang amount ng goodwill mo. So, you see, a single problem can ask many questions and maraming possible answers. So, again, the first priority is yung given amount kung binigay. Second is yung full goodwill method. Sige. Let's move on with, do you have questions? Sige, wala. Let's move on to requirement number 3. Assuming, same pa rin, assuming daw hindi binigay ang 170,000. And then, you are required to compute for the goodwill, pero this time, partial goodwill lang daw. Kasi sasabihin din yan sa problem class, don't worry. Although, may mga assumptions pa rin naman na ibibigay sa problem para dili po ka maglibog unsa nga method imong gamiton. So, we will use daw the proportionate value method. So, how do we do that? First, ganun pa rin, kopyahin mo to. Yan lang natin yung itong formula na to. So, consideration, same pa rin, di yan magbabago, class. FB&A, same pa rin, di rin yan magbabago. Sa NCI lang talaga ang changes. So, dahil ang gusto niya is proportionate, ang mangyayari, ang formula niyan is FB&A na 620,000 times 0.20. That's the proportionate value method. Yung formula, how to get for that is yung FB&A mo, i-times mo sa percentage ni NCI. NCI in our problem is 20%. Pwede yang maging 30. So, yan lang yung formula niya. Kapag proportionate value method. So, how much is 20% of 620,000? Can you please give me the answer?
124,000.
124,000. So, meron ka ng ganyan. So, pwede mo nang makompute ang goodwill mo. No. So, you see, iba na naman ang amount ng goodwill. Kanina, 350. Sa requirement number 2, 380. Dito is 304. So, kapag silent, ang problem, ito yung ang first priority again is yung binigay na NCI kung binigay. Kapag hindi binigay yung fair value ng NCI, sasabihin sa problem kung anong gusto niyang kunin. Ang full goodwill ba or ang partial goodwill ba? Sasabihin niya yon. Pwedeng both or pwedeng isa lang. Okay? So, full goodwill or partial goodwill. Full goodwill, paano siya kukunin? Yung consideration divided by kung ilang stocks yung i-acquire times yung remaining percentage. And then, pag partial goodwill, how do we compute for that? FB&A times the percentage of the NCI. Okay? And then, I hope that's clear. May question. Sige, wala. And I want you to take note of this. May golden rule kasi sa... Sana yun? Golden rule. Yun. Aray. Value. He can never less than the NCI percentage the fair value of net FB&A na lang. FB&A. You have to constantly remind yourself of this golden rule. Always remember, always yun mo siya i-remember. Actually, wala ito gi-apply sa requirement number 1. Dapat gi-apply na ito ni siya. Pero anyway, tama man gihapon eh. Ano daw, the value of the NCI can never be less than the NCI percentage of the FVNA. Kasi 'di ba, kung gagawa tayo ng kung i-compute natin ito, initially wala tayong value for NCI. It's either binigay sa problem in this case or kailangan pa natin siyang i-solve. 'Di ba? Wala tayong initial value for the NCI, kailangan pa natin siyang i-solve. Ang sabi dito, yung value daw na ibibigay natin for NCI can never be less than the NCI percentage of the FVNA. So ano ba to? Ano ba tong NCI percentage of the FVNA? It's actually this one. Yung 620,000 times 20%. Yan yung NCI percentage of the FVNA. Kasi NCI percentage in this case is yung 20% times the FVNA na 620,000. Ay, my gosh. Ang ako nagtinanga, mani ako ang formula. Yun. Dapat daw yung value na ibibigay natin sa NCI hindi bababa ng 124,000. And that's a golden rule. Ibig sabihin, kahit binigay sa problem yung value na ibibigay mo for NCI, kapag yung amount na yon is less than the NCI percentage of the FVNA, ang hindi mo yon gagamitin. Ang gagamitin mo is ito. Ito yung minimum amount na pwede mong i-allocate na value for NCI. It can never be less than this. So, paano mo siya i-compute yung NCI percentage of the FVNA? Kunin mo yung FVNA ng problem and then i-multiply mo doon sa percentage ng NCI. The percentage of the NCI is 20% as given in the problem. So, we computed for that. Ito yon 124,000. So, ang golden rule, hindi daw tayo pwedeng bumaba dito. If ever nabababa tayo dito, ang gagamitin natin is ito. Hindi pwedeng 123,999. Dapat 124,000 talaga or pataas. Kung mas mataas dito yung makompute natin na NCI, then good. Use that. So, let's look ha, kasi hindi natin to, hindi ko to siya in-apply kanina. Let's look kung yung 100, kung itong rule na to, hindi ba natin na-violate in requirement number 1, 2, and 3. So, again, the minimum amount that we should value our NCI is 124,000. So, let's check. In requirement number 1, yung NCI na given, 170,000. So, we did not violate the golden rule. Pasok. Diba? 170 is more than 124. And then for requirement number 2, after we computed for the partial and after we computed it using the full goodwill method, we computed na 200,000. So pasok pa rin because it's still more than 124. And then dito sa requirement number 3, tama pa rin kasi we actually used the NCI percentage of the fair value of net assets. Yun kasi yung ginamit natin na formula using the proportionate value method. Now, let's look at requirement number 4. Sige nga, I want you to compute for goodwill. Using assumption number 4. Lakihan ko ha. Yan. Problem number 4. Assumption number 4. Compute for goodwill, please. Compute niya ha, magkano ang goodwill. How much is the goodwill?
304,000.
Magkano?
304,000.
304,000.
304,000. Actually, tama yun. Okay, so sige nga, i-ano natin ha. Let's show paano siya naging 304. So, kopyahin ko yan. And, ito. Same pa rin, 800,000. Tapos, same pa rin na 620,000. Now, what's the assumption? What if daw yung value ng NCI is 120,000? Now, kung ilalagay ko yung ganyan, nasunod ko ba ang golden rule?
No.
No. So, anong ilalagay kong amount dito?
124,000.
124,000. Very good. So, actually, parang same lang siya sa nangyari sa requirement number 3. So, class, kahit binigay sa problem na yun ang fair value ng NCI, always check pa rin kung hindi mo ba na-violate yung rule. So, the safest thing to do would be compute for the NCI percentage of the FVNA every time. Okay? And then, para meron kang comparison. Kasi kay basig, taas na kayo mong computation dira, pero mali di ay ang value sa imong NCI. So, definitely, mali gyud ang value sa imong goodwill. So, for requirement number 4, same lang siya actually nang nangyari sa requirement number 3. Okay, again, dito for number 1, dahil yan lang yung sinabi, compute for full goodwill, definitely gagamitin mo yung binigay sa problem na amount for NCI, which is 170,000. So, ito yon. Alam niyo na to kung paano kunin ang consideration. I-add mo yung NCI na given, total, and then less yung FVNA. Alam niyo na rin yan. And then, pag positive, goodwill. Requirement number 2, anong nangyari? What if daw hindi given ang 170? So, ang gusto niya is full goodwill. So to compute for that, same pa rin, consideration, plot mo, 800. Add mo yung NCI, how to compute using the fair value method. Yung consideration mo, divided by percentage na i-acquire, times the NCI percentage, or the 20%. That's how you get 200,000. And then, total mo yung dalawa, less mo yung FVNA, you have your goodwill. Requirement number 3, using the proportionate value method, 800,000, same pa rin. And then, to compute for the proportionate value, you simply multiply the FVNA times the NCI percentage, na 20%. And then you get that. 924,000 less FVNA na 620, you got 304. And then sa requirement number 4, assumption is ang fair value ng NCI is 120,000. Hindi mo siya ginamit because it would violate the rule that the value of the NCI can never be less than the NCI percentage of the FVNA. So you use the minimum amount, which is 124,000, just like what we did in requirement number 3. So you got the total, 924, same lang talaga siya sa requirement number 3. Less FVNA, and you have your goodwill na 304,000. Now, may goodwill ka na, pero it does not end there. Dahil yung acquisition is partial, yung goodwill na na-compute mo, may portion nun allocated for the parent, merong portion na allocated for NCI or the 20%. Pero hindi siya ganun kadali na yung ang formula is 350,000 times 80%. Muna siya para kay parent, ma'am. Yeah, 350,000 times 20%. No. Minsan, nagbabago. Maybe, in other cases, pwedeng ganun, but may cases na hindi ganyan ang pagka-solve. So, sige ha. Let's do this. Gawa ka ng table na ganyan, 4 columns, 4 rows. Because I want you to use this. This is actually a technique class. This was taught to us in the hindi to, I don't know, hindi siguro ako nakikinig before ng undergrad, pero hindi to siya tinuro during my college days. Itong technique na to, tinuro na siya sa review center. I don't know lang kung, or basig, natulog lang ko at that time. Pero nahimasmasan ko ane during review na. So, I hope you take note of this. You put that company fair value and then FBNA. Lagyan natin ng less. Lagyan mo dito, goodwill. Pwedeng gain ha, pero in this case kasi positive lahat, so goodwill lahat yan. And then, you put here total. Lagay mo dito parent. Percent. Lagyan mo ng percentage kasi basig makalimot ka ba. 20%. Yan. Once you make a table, ang una mong gagawin, step number 1 is ilagay ang FBNA. Kasi itong amount na to, kahit anong scenario pa, this is actually, it will not change. So kung magkano yung na-compute mo na FBNA, simply put it here, 620,000. And then, ito, pwede mong gamitan ng percentage. So magkano ang 80% ng 620, please? I-compute daw. Just so I know that you're still with me.
For 96,000.
496,000.
496. And how much is the remaining 20%?
Ay, shit. Ano
Uy.
ka? 124 po, ma'am.
Magkano?
124,000.
124,000. So, yan. Now, yun ang una mong gagawin kasi I want you to remember this. This is actually step 1. I-plot mo ang FVNA, yung total niya, and then simply get the percentage. Kung ilang percentage yung i-acquire ni parent, and then yung percentage na natira for NCI. Now, step 2. Isulat mo dito sa taas kung magkano yung consideration. Magkano ba ang consideration?
800,000, ma'am.
800,000. Now, madali na lang ito class because actually we already did this one. Pero there are cases na basig magdali ka, maghimo ka dayon og table. Let's assume lang na hindi pa tayo gumawa ng ganito. Okay? Let's assume lang na wala pa ito. So, ikuan ko na to ni. Hawaon na to. Yan. So, let's assume lang. Wala din ako, no? So, yon. After you put this, i-plot mo yung FVNA. Simply multiply the percentage accordingly. Ilagay mo sa taas, sa parent column, yung consideration na binigay ni parent. So, yung consideration is 800,000, di ba? So, ilagay mo yan dyan. Now, isulat mo, the next step would be to figure out the amount for NCI. in this case, bakit kasi ako? Wait lang ha. I'm gonna tell you first, ano ba kasi yung hinahanap for requirement number 5. Hindi ko pinakita yung question. This is the requirement for requirements needed for number 5. Allocate the computed goodwill between the parent and the NCI on each of the cases above. So lahat yan, 1, 2, 3, 4, kailangan nating i-allocate ang goodwill kung kanino mapupunta. Kung ilang amount mapupunta kay parent, ilang amount ang mapupunta for NCI. So, yun. That's what we are doing. Kaya maraming boxes dyan. Kasi i-compute natin sa number 2, 3, and 4. So, for number 1, for case number 1, yun, ilagay mo yung FVNA, sulat mo dyan. This will always be the same. Okay? Yan lang yun. FVNA total na na-compute mo na kanina, and then you multiply it by the percentage, the respective percentage. Tapos, dito sa taas, kay parent column, isulat mo yung consideration na binigay ni parent. And then, dito, i-compute mo or isulat mo kung magkano ang NCI. Now, for this problem, for this requirement number 1, yung ginamit natin is the 170,000 because there are no other assumptions in requirement number 1. This is actually requirement number 1. Walang other assumptions. So, gagamitin natin yung binigay sa problem na 170,000. Ano yun? Yan. Yung binigay na 170,000. So, yan yung isusulat mo for NCI. So, magkano ang i-add mo yung dalawa? That's 970. Tapos, simply, i-minus mo na lang. Pag may amount ka na dyan, sa first row mo and sa second row mo, pwede ka nang minus. Minus mo na lang lahat. 350, then 304, and 46. So actually, meron ka ng sagot. Kapag tinanong ka, how much is the goodwill allocated for the parent, ito yung sagot. How much is the goodwill allocated for NCI? Ito yung sagot. So like I said kanina, hindi siya yung simpleng 350,000 times 80%. Bet, try natin. 350,000 times 80%. Oh, hindi siya 304,000. So kailangan mong gumawa ng ganitong table. Okay? Para mas madali. This will be your, kumbaga, basic tool mo for these types of computation. So, let's proceed. Pakita na lang natin yun para mas madali. Kasi meron kayong problem dito na kayo ang gagawa. So, ano nga ang first step? Ano nga una kong gagawin? Lagyan ko muna ng labels. Sige nga. Walk me through anong gagawin ko. It's the first step.
FBNA, ma'am.
FBNA. So, paano ko i-compute yung dito na side? Nilagay ko na yung FBNA. Paano ko i-compute yung dito?
Earn mo yung 80% niya, ma'am. Sa
Okay.
20 times, ma'am, 0.8.
Ayun. So, kopyahin ko na lang, no? Because actually, same lang din siya sa taas. Tapos, what will be my next step?
Consideration sa parent, ma'am.
Consideration. Asan ako ibutang?
Parent.
Sa parent, ma'am,
Rent.
800.
Yan. 800,000. Tapos, dahil nga na-compute na natin to, pwede na lang natin tong kopyahin na lang, no? Pero kung like, hindi mo pa to siya na-compute, so mas maganda pag gumawa ka muna ng ganitong, ng ganitong computation para pag abot ni mo dire, plot na lang ka. So, what's the value of our NCI?
200,000.
200,000. So, ang total nito would be 1 million. And then, dahil meron na akong mga amounts, simply minus na lang. 380,000. Yan. So, iba. Same sila sa taas na 304, pero iba pagdating kay NCI. 76. Okay? So, iba. Pag tinanong ka, how much is the goodwill allocated for NCI, ito yung sagot. 76,000. How much is the total goodwill? Ito yung sagot. How much is the goodwill allocated for the parent? Ito yung sagot. Okay? So, requirement number 3. Kahin ko to. What's the first step again?
FB&A.
FB&A. Kopyahin na lang natin. And then what?
Consideration.
Consideration. And then, NCI na na-compute na natin kanina, 124. So, ang total niyan is 924. So, 904 and sadang. Yan. So, kung tatanungin ka, how much is the goodwill? How much is the total goodwill? Ang sagot is 304. How much is the goodwill allocated for the parent? 304. How much is the goodwill allocated for the NCI? 0. Kapag ang gagamitin mong method is ang partial method, walang goodwill na allocated for NCI. Okay? Sa full lang. Sa full goodwill or sa fair value method lang, merong allocation ng goodwill for NCI. Dito wala. That is why let's proceed na with requirement number 4. Tingnan ko muna yan. Oh my gosh. Yan. Tada. So, kopyahin ko pa rin to. And ito. Now, remember nyo tong golden rule, the value of the NCI can never be less than the NCI percentage of the FB&A. What if nakalimutan mo? No? Let's look lang what if nakalimutan mo? Magkano nga yung NCI niya na binigay? 120,000. So, what if lang nakalimutan mo? Nilagay mo dyan 120,000 kay naa naman sa problem, ma'am. Gihatag magud sa problem, ma'am. So, ang mangyayari nito, ang amount niyan would be 920 ba? Tapos, dahil meron ka ng ano dyan, minus mo. So, 300,000 lang. Ano lang to what if scenario? And then, pagdating mo dyan, yun. Dito ka nagkamali. Because goodwill can never be negative. Kung negative na, dapat gain na. Pero goodwill man gid siya, dapat goodwill man. So, nag-goodwill ka diri niya, nag-gain ka diri. Dili pwede. That is why it's very important to follow this rule. And never forget that. Minsan, kung ipapasolve lang sa'yo is yung total goodwill, tapos nakalimutan mo to, hindi mo makikita yung mali mo kung hindi ka magpa-plot sa table. Hindi mo makikita definitely yung mali mo. Kasi usually nakakalimutan to yung rule na to, na dapat pala hindi siya bababa sa NCI percentage ng FB&A. So ito, in this case, nakalimutan. 120. Kasi yun yung sabi ng problem. The fair value of the NCI is 120. Ma'am, tama ang manggihapon ng positive, manggihapon ang goodwill, yes, pero kulang. So, ayusin natin Ang tama is 124. And ito ay 924. So, dahil same lang siya ng requirement number 3, same lang din yung yung pagkaka-plot niya sa table. Okay? So, do you have questions before I give you, meron pa pala, requirement number 6. prepare the journal entries to record the investment in the books of the acquirer company. So, same lang to siya before class na ang debit is, unsa gani ang debit na to? Naka-remember mo? Ara dayo. Ang debit natin is ang investment in subsidiary account. So, investment in subsidiary. And what did we use for this one? Anong ginamit natin? Anong credit natin? Did we pay for cash or did we issue stocks?
Stocks mo yata. Stock ba ito?
Stocks. Yan. We issue stocks. So, what will be our credit? Ay, tingnan nyo muna. What will be our credit? Anong credit class?
Common shares.
Hmm?
Charot lang.
Ano na?
Common shares. Charot.
Common shares. O, pwede. Pwede rin ordinary shares. Same lang naman yan. So, let's use lang ordinary shares. May iba pang credit?
Premium. Share premium.
So, give me amounts. Magkano ang investment in subsidiary?
Balik sa daw, ma'am. Ay, 800 na, ma'am. 800,000.
800,000 and ano?
$160.
Ano?
160, ma'am.
160?
Yup.
Magkano ang ordinary shares? Magkano ang ordinary shares? 160. So, magkano ang share premium?
640.
640.
640.
640. So, yan. That's the entry. Meron pa ba akong i-entry?
Yes, ma'am.
Ansa?
Na 50,000.
Yung, ito,
Kanang
Ano,
50,000. Ansa
Yes,
gani na
ma'am.
siya?
personal fees acquisition.
Professional fees.
We have a term
Yes,
for
ma'am.
this.
Acquisition.
Acquisition expense.
Expense.
Acquisitional expense? Acquisitional. Sa bukay.
Anong credit?
I credit
Kan. Share
cash.
premium. Ay, cash.
Cash.
Sa mukha.
Cash. And the amount is 50,000.
50,000.
So we're done. We're done now. We're done with all the requirements. We made different assumptions and we computed for that. Yan. And we made the journal entry. Now, I want you to work on problem number 4. This one. Klaro lang ba siya? Or padako na ko? Or unsa ba?
Klaro lang, ma'am.
Klaro lang. O sige, I'm gonna give you 10 minutes. Ito yung requirement. 1, 2, 3 lang. I'm gonna give you 10 minutes to solve for this one. Okay? Do you have answers na?
Yes, ma'am.
Wait lang, ha? Sige. May answer na? Magkano? Ang goodwill?
Gain ako
Or gain? Or gain?
120.
120. How about the others?
20, ma'am.
Ha?
20.
20 na
Ay,
ang
wait.
saging?
96,
Ay,
ma'am.
120.
Ako tsaka.
56 ako.
Wait lang.
100.
Pila jud ba?
100. Lahi, may.
100.
Alam mo ka.
Lagi ako.
Lahi ako.
Pero lahi ako.
Siyempre, nag-base ko atong sa ano,
Wait lang,
ma'am,
ma'am.
eh,
Wait
guide.
lang.
Ay, katong
Sure.
golden rule.
Char.
Char, sana all.
Tapos mag-allocate pod mo ha, requirement number 2 and 3 pa. Okay ka.
Mag-stick ko sa kanyang answer.
Pila ganito?
120.
120 na gain.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Mm-hmm. 120 na gain. Yung iba, okay na? Pam pam pa pam 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 pa pam pa pam Okay na yung iba? Final na kayo with your answers? May 120, may 100 ba yung isa?
Yes.
100?
96.
Ha?
96 ang tama. 96 daw.
96. So, let's... Actually, na-flash na ko siya gaina. This is the answer.
Ay, as in...
96. So,
Ay, mag-base siya sa table, ma'am?
ha?
Mag-base siya sa table?
Hindi. Dali lang. Ayaw sa ni i-mind. Ayaw sa ni i-mind ang table.
Tama
Bilis
din, ma'am.
ta.
Sa golden rule nga no, 120 mo nakigibutan.
Ay, tama, abi na ko nila, sa ano siya, sa table. Abi na ko
Alam,
mag-stick
120
dito
na
sa
di ako na-compute.
0.8. Tapos
No,
divide
kung
0.2.
mag-table
Hindi,
man ta, i-apply man gihapon na to ang golden rule sa table.
Okay.
Diba? Ganing ha, nag-what if
Gani
scenario
mo.
lang ta.
Wala nga na 120
Okay,
mo.
ma'am.
Dapat 124
Tama
man
na.
ni. Nagtinanga.
So, dili na ako i-explain. Gets niya na.
Tama.
So, di ba, ang golden rule is dapat dili siya mubaba sa NCI percentage sa FVNA. So, magkano ba ang NCI percentage natin for FVNA? That would be 620,000 times 0.20,
Point.
no?
Yes, ma'am. 0.20.
620,000 times 0.20. So, dapat dili ta mo mubo sa 124.
Yes.
So, kung halimbawa lang, so let's, ano lang, no, ng kanang what if lang ko ang sagot na to ni Tanande. Ang consideration as is, wala problema, right?
Wala.
400,000. Tapos, ang FVNA pod, wala po na ilibog, as is. Kung pila, dapat kabalog, yapong ka, kanilang fair value of assets less fair value of the liabilities. So, that would be 620,000. Now, ang problem, walay gihatag na fair value of NCI. So, ang imuhang unang himuon would be to compute for NCI using the fair value method. Kung saan ganito siya pag-compute, pila
400.
akong NCI kung ano, yes, 400
100,000 divide 0.8. tapos i-time sa 0.20.
Oh, yes, that's good.
Ma'am is
400,000.
100.
Ang result niya,
Sunan.
kabaluan mo, di ba, nga may golden rule?
Yes,
100 lang
ma'am.
yan mo
Tapos
din.
sa table ko lang siya gi-apply.
Yeah, tanaw na toon nga, kasi mahitabo sa table. So, ang result ato, kung kwaon nato siya at fair value, is 100,000. Which is less than 124. So,
Yes.
dili pwede. Ang gamito nato is 124. Because it's the golden rule, charat. And then, you add that one, those two. Tapos, kaunin mo ang difference. Negative, so, gain.
Okay.
On
Okay.
acquisition. So, mali ni siya. Dira. So, that's it. Na naka-gain on acquisition. But the question would be, pila ang allocated for parent, pila ang allocated for NCI. Now, ang sagani ang una natong himuon dire sa table,
FBNA.
FBNA.
Na
DNA.
620.
Tapos, pila dire?
496.
496. Pila dire?
124.
124. And then,
Sa
pila
parent.
dire?
Consideration.
400.
400. Pila dire?
124.
124. So, kung 124 na, pila ni?
524.
524. So, ano na lang ta?
96.
4. 120.
And, charan! Gain.
Yes.
Nagets?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Gihapon, bisag i-table ni mo siya or i-ani ka formula, o yun gihapon ang mo gawas. Kaya naman kay gina-mind na golden rule. So, kung gagamitan ni mo unta siya og fair value, full goodwill, dili gyapon pwede because 100 lang man ang computed ato for NCI, which is a violation, which is less than 124. So, gigamit ang 124 mo to tong NCI. Okay? Don't
Yes.
forget that ha, dili dili maglibog lang. As long as you have this table, okay lang. Wait lang. Okay na. Okay. As long as you have this table and you follow our step 1, step 2, and you follow the golden rule, you're good. Just lang, be careful lang pod. Usahay no, kabalo ka sa golden rule, kabalo ko sa golden rule, ma'am. Kabalo ko sa steps, ma'am. Pero mali gyapon. So, lang, careful lang ha. So, what our requirement number 3, prepare the journal entries. So, sige nga, what's our journal entry?
Investment in subsidiary 400. Tapos cash 400.
Very good. Investment in subsidiary. Is 400 and uy, kapangit. Dalhin ta dere. Cash na 400,000. Other entries? May other entries pa ba?
Expense. Acquisition
Fee. Expense.
Then cash. 50 ba?
Expense. Yes, it's 50. 50. Yun lang. We're done na. Yun lang yun. Acquisition of stocks in less than 100%. And then, class, because di ba next week is exam na supposed to be 25. 25 is Wednesday. That's supposed to be our class and then exam na. I have a proposal for you. What if ganito? Kasi what we're doing right now is like we are walking through the process pa. Remember yung last time before we took the midterm exam, I gave you a review. Yung nag-assign ako ng problem sa inyo with ABCD. Gusto ko sana kasi na ganun yung gawin natin muna next meeting. So, next meeting, hindi ko muna ibibigay yung exam. Magre-review tayo. Gusto kong i-review kayo. Yung manner of questioning is like the exam na, yung ABCD na. Kung okay lang sa inyo. And ang gagawin ko kasi sana, because 10 lang naman kayo, and yung iba hindi rin nag-a-attend, I want it to be a live quiz. Meaning,
Live?
yes, live
Ah,
quiz.
lo.
So, meaning, I will assign you a problem. Yun pa rin yung gagawin mo. Mag-screenshot ka. You can leave the call if you want para makakoncentrate ka. You're gonna answer it, and I'm gonna score you.
Hala.
It's a
Char.
review and it's a quiz at the same time. Kasi wala pa tayong quiz for for the pre-finals.
Perfect na sa Irish. Ana.
Irish day, buang nga. Karon gani mali-mali.
So,
Di,
okay
ako
lang.
gani.
We're gonna do that ha. So, next week, hindi ko muna ipopost ang exam. Pero, mag-meet tayo live. We're gonna have a live quiz. Now, question, ma'am, paano kung dili ko kasali? Okay lang, don't worry. Kung dili ka kasali, I'm still gonna give your quiz. Kapag okay na yung signal mo, send ko lang siya sa messenger and then I'm gonna give you time limit. Like kung halimbawa,
Messenger na lang.
yes, nag-anak ka nga, ma'am, okay na ako ma'am, ready na ako ma'am, ambi na akong question. So, ihatag
Ano
na
ang
yung
live quiz?
question.
Naka-on ang camera or
No, kahit naka-off, okay lang, naka-off. And then, pwede po ka mag-leave sa call. Okay, di ba? Para makakoncentrate ka.
Ka ay like kami problem.
Yes, lahi mong problem.
Okay.
So, ano lang po na ako, ang level of difficulty, dapat same lang. Okay, para di unfair. Diba, sigmaingon ka nga, hala ma'am, nakuha mo na ko to yung problem, pero ako alisod. So, i-assess na ko ang level of difficulty nga, same lang, para di unfair. Okay? So, kung maka-attend ka, much better. Kaya ayun naghadlok. It's actually parang kanang practice pod, you know, ng na-time pressure. Kay kung dili po ka mo attend, mag-ingon ka sa ko nga, ma'am, ready na ko ma'am, isend na ko sa messenger, tagaan gyapon ta kag limit. Like kung halimbawa mo anak ka at 6 p.m. ma'am, isend na sa ko ma'am kay ready na kay ko. Hatag na ko si mo, tagaan tag 10 minutes, dapat within 10 minutes na kay answer mahatag.
Okay.
So, same pa rin. So, I suggest much better kung mag-attend ka ng live kay pwede pa nato ma-discuss. Kung halimbawa na mali kang jud ka or what.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, before our next meeting, review muna kayo ang coverage ng ng exam and ng quiz, the live quiz next week is ito lang, itong nandito lang sa loob ng Excel file na to. So, I'm gonna send this again for you to review. And then the recorded class was already uploaded sa YouTube. Itong problem number 1 and problem number 2, this is actually acquisition at 100%. Na to, wag niyo lang masyado tong aralin ito, oh. Kasi yung gagawin naman natin is ABCD, multiple choice. So, you're gonna give me an answer and you're gonna defend your answer. You're gonna explain to the class nga nung nga to yung mga answer. So, I hope you attend. Kay mas, maglingaw-lingaw lang gud ta. Ha?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, para sa dya. So, you will have your own problem. You're gonna solve it. And you're gonna be scored. The last time, wala ko nag-score sa inyo. Pero this time, I'm gonna give you a score. So, mura mo mag-quiz B chart. Organizers, man good mo. So, wala mo nag-appeal og mga contest. So, pa-contest
Quiz
sa mo next week. So, yeah, that's it. We're done na. And I'm gonna upload this to sa YouTube and just wait for the link. Wait for the Excel sheet na forward ko lang din sa group chat. Okay? Para makapag-review kayo before you attend next meeting. And then, kung 25, magkaklase pa tayo, syempre, 26 ko pa ipopost yung exam nyo, definitely mag-extend yung deadline yan. Okay? To give room naman for you to prepare for the exam. And you have other exams din kasi.
Okay.
So, next week, we're gonna meet same time, 5:30 kasi talaga yung ano natin, yung schedule. So, yeah. 5 to 5:30 next week. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Sige.
you, ma'am.
Do you have other questions ba? May question ba sa golden rule?
Wala na. Klaro na siya.
Klaro na siya. Thank you.
Klaro kung 120.
Anong asa ka di ka nag-120?
Dili,
Okay,
ma'am, kay pag-solve na ko, 600 di ako nagamit. Dili, 620.
120 man po ako,
okay.
ma'am.
So, mali din siya kaayo, no? Sagot sa
Mm.
ano yung bali-bali. Yeah, careful. Okay? So, yeah. See you next week. Okay? Bye-bye. Thank you for
Bye,
attending.
ma'am. Thank you.
Bye.